Well, I'm going to call it a fairly early start, so well done, and congratulations to the few of you that have actually made the effort to come here. This is a presentation that is primarily for our sponsors, and when I was just looking over who was presenting, it's really not just a case of these guys are the sponsors for Fanfest, but these guys really are the sponsors for CCP and EVE. And it's probably a very lucky thing that we're dealing with these people and these companies, because certainly each one of these four companies go above and beyond the call of duty many times a year to make sure that CCP and EVE stay running at their fullest potential. So we, of course, at CCP have been working hard over the last year to make the EVE server better, to make Tranquility more stable, faster, from an operational, a software, from every angle possible. And of course, our partners have also been working very hard to make all this happen. So the first person that I'm going to introduce to you guys is a fellow named Helgi, who comes from a company in Iceland called Nýherji. Now, Nýherji are the Icelandic partner for IBM, and as many of the IBM people who come out to visit IBM in Iceland, they say that Helgi is more IBM than most IBM people who work for IBM. So, Helgi, if you want to come up, and we'll kick off. He's just going to give us a bit of a run-through on what exactly it is that powers the EVE server, and how it all works, and I guess where it's going in the future. So, Helgi. Yep, come up here. Can you use this one? Presentation should be right there. Let's kick you on. Highly technical. There we go. IBM stuff. Yep.
Okay, welcome.
Yeah, I think we should.
Well, welcome everyone, and we need a bigger room for next year, I think. I'm the manager for x86 servers in Iceland from IBM, and I'm pretty technical as well. And I'm going to give you a clue about what IBM is doing for EVE. Well, what is it exactly? Well, it's a lot of stuff we're doing, but these are the main points, I think. We have the world's most advanced server technology. That certainly helps. We have extremely skilled technical people, and like James said, we have... Well, I'm not a singer, so... Well, and there's more. There's future vision. We have been able to visualize maybe 2-3 years ahead into the future and help CCP to see where the industry is going in the server space, and that is highly valuable. For example, when the new Intel architecture Nehalem came out, CCP was one of the first 10 companies in the world to get a test system from IBM. It was like Bank of America, BMW, and CCP. You know, it's a good crowd to be in. And then we cannot forget that black servers are really, really cool. Who wants white servers with pink handles? Well, IBM is a 100-year-old company, and stuff you might use every day, like RAM and database and hard drive, tape drive, PC, server, all these things were invented by IBM. And they have these really big systems called mainframes. And we're utilizing this mainframe technology inside our much, much cheaper Intel boxes. Okay, how does it look? It's pretty simple. We have the internet where the users gather, and the internet is connected to the game through proxy servers, and those are blades. And those proxy servers talk to the actual solar system servers, which are also blades. And all the data is kept in a very big, powerful cluster. And there we use brick machines. I will explain later. And this is a constant rip and replace every 2 years or so, because CCP is very dedicated to use the latest and greatest technology. And I'm not complaining about that. So what is this blade stuff anyway? If you really want to know what a blade architecture is, we would have to have maybe 10 or 12 hours to go through that. But I think this picture says basically all. You can have all this bunch of stuff connected with hundreds of cables, or you can just put it in one nice black box, right? One of the most common cause of failure in a server system is a technician pulling the wrong cable. So if you don't have any cables, then there's no wrong cable to pull, and that's just one of many reasons for the success of blade. Now, this is not official IBM lingo, but I call this chainsaw-resistant technology. And what I mean by that is, obviously, in a game like EVE, you do not want to see hardware failure. Okay, but we have, well, now 60 blades, but we used to have 120 blades. So the chances are eventually something will fail in a blade server. But that's not really bad if one out of 100 goes bad. What's really bad is if a whole chassis of blade goes down. And that's why this architecture really shows that that cannot happen. I can literally, do we have a laser beam? Oh, okay. Yeah, but there's no light in it. Okay, I just move over here. What I'm saying is, the individual blades, it's not a mission-critical thing to have every blade running all the time. It actually has. I don't think we ever had a blade failure. No, but law of statistics tells us that eventually we will. But the key thing is when 14 blades are sharing common components, then those components absolutely cannot fail, because then a lot of servers go down at the same time. And that's really the thing here. I could literally take a chainsaw and saw through the blade chassis, and the top side of it would run separately from the bottom side. And I could take a sledgehammer and completely smash everything on top or everything on bottom, and still things would keep running. Now the blades themselves, we went from AMD to Wolfdale, 1 year ago or something like that. And that was a huge boost in performance. This is not a very known processor from Intel. Very few people know about it and use it. But this is still today the most powerful processor per core, which is a key thing here. We have more powerful sockets, more powerful processor units with multiple cores, but the nature of EVE demands a maximum power per core, and this is the stuff that delivers that. It has close to zero latency between the cores because they share the level 2 cache, and they are extremely fast at running at 3.3 gigahertz. And I don't think we're going to see those numbers for years to come. The trend is to add more cores on the chip and slow them down, which is really, really bad for Eve and us. But still, there are like turbo boost technology. It's a horrible, horrible name, but it's still called turbo boost, and that's Intel. It's not IBM. And it a little bit counterbalance this multi-processing trend we're seeing. What turbo boost does is it has many cores, but when it notices that the software is only using maybe one or two, it's just utilizing 2 threads, then the system realizes that and turns off some of the cores to increase the frequency of the rest of the cores. So that's the happy news. But due to this industry trend, we're not going to see this huge performance leap like we did when we went from AMD to Wolfdale. Okay, what's this brick stuff? We have very powerful machines who keep all the data for Eve. It's an SQL Microsoft cluster setup. And one of the largest, probably in the world, with 230, 50, 60, 300,000 users and 60,000 simultaneous users. So it's a really challenging system to run and architect. But the name brick, a lot of people ask where that comes from, and that's due to the fact that IBM can take these standard 4-way Intel boxes and brick them up like Lego cubes and interconnect them with an IBM $100 million IBM chip to make one huge system out of many systems. And it's literally one server here. It's one operating system, even though we have 2 boxes, 2 motherboards, and 2 of everything. Probably shouldn't get too technical about this, but well, here's a picture of the box. It looks very impressive, I think, for the nerdy people at least, like me. And we have very big numbers here, which are also quite impressive. Right, the bigger they are, the better, right? And that's true for so many things. Well, and the specs for these monsters are, these are the most powerful CPUs today for this kind of servers. They have 6 cores, and we have 2 in each brick, so we have it's basically a 12 CPU system. But that's really not the problem. The CPUs are incredibly fast, and the database is not that CPU constrained. What's difficult about a database with 60,000 simultaneous users is I/O. So we put 128 gigabytes of RAM in there, and what about disk? We just say, no way. Disks just don't run fast enough. And that's why we have Texas Memory Systems, where we actually have RAM, random access memory, used like a disk. It's presented like a disk. We're going to see that later on. Okay, thank you. Questions? Of course, I'm around today, so everybody can... I was going to say pick on me, but that's a really bad choice of words. They can, just ask me. Buying me a drink always helps. So I like gin and tonic. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Helgi. And if you haven't noticed, Helgi was kind enough to bring a Blade server with him today. So if you want to have a look at what the actual Eve server looks like in its native form, there's one of them just sitting up the front. So come and have a look at the end of the presentations. I think next up we have Microsoft. CCP have really had a very, very close relationship with Microsoft for pretty much the entirety of CCP's existence, I would say. EVE Online has always been a product that's been based on the Windows platform. We do, of course, have support for other platforms at the client side, but the server technology is fundamentally Windows-based. So one of the areas that we're looking into and that we're actually going to be adopting on our cluster very soon, and this comes again to looking to innovate and to keep EVE on the bleeding edge of technology, is high-performance computing systems. And so we have from Microsoft, is it Beat from Microsoft, who is part of the high-performance computing program. And he is going to tell us all about Microsoft and HPC.
Thanks for the introduction. I'm glad to be here, and I would like to thank CCP as well for the opportunity, for the speaking opportunity here as well. So I'm not going to talk about Windows 7 or Office. I'm going to cover a little bit more in detail what HPC stands for and what the insights are of HPC and what's the idea actually behind technical computing would be from the Microsoft point of view. Because technical computing is one of the areas I would say, heavily are going to invest in the future as well. This has nothing to do actually with high-performance computing or technical computing. It has more to do with the parallel programming of the applications. I'm going to cover that. So first of all, it's probably interesting to talk about CCP a little bit more in detail. So we're working very closely together. CCP is a very important customer or partner for Microsoft because they're using the whole stack of Microsoft. And as we heard, with the huge amount of simultaneous users or the user base in EVE Online, there's a challenge really to run a Microsoft system. And with that, we prove actually that we are enterprise ready with that solution, coming actually from the Windows Server base up to the SQL and other applications we are using, the management tools and so forth. And it's very important to understand that Microsoft is going into that direction, not only in the gaming area as well as in the enterprise area as well, and the consumer base as well. So we're working very closely, and all our partners are, I would say, one of the most and hard-working people because everything goes at Microsoft through the partner. So we are 100% actually committed to our partners and customers, and 90% of our business is actually coming through partners or from partner business actually, and from developers or system integrators and so forth. So what's actually HPC? And we talked about, clustering. We talked about, multi-core technology. So HPC, from the Microsoft point of view, is more than, just clustering the systems. It's very important to understand that we would like to increase the performance. We'd like to increase the productivity, actually, of the application or the performance of EVE Online. That's what we really plan to do, and not only plan to do, that's what we're doing on a daily basis. So we do much more than that. It's more about high productivity computing. So we're going actually a step ahead with that technology. We are thinking that everyone, even the non-technical user, should get access to a high-performance computing environment. That's actually the idea. Even if you think that you have a notebook or just a desk-side-based system, even with that, the multi-core technology, we should be able actually really to address that performance and really to get access to that performance as well. That's actually the idea. It's, in the end, somewhere really bringing all the computers together or bringing performance together or bringing nodes or cores together. That's actually really the idea. And just to combine them and increase performance. But in the end, it's the information worker. It's the guy behind the screen who really would like to get access to that and to the performance of the system. That's the idea. So our vision actually is what I said. The vision is really to get access and to democratize actually high-performance computing. That's the idea. So we're actually, it's always, when it comes to Microsoft, it's always about reduction complexity. I guess they're going to reduce that building quite heavily. Very good. I like that. So, first of all, when we are going to talk about, the infrastructure of Eve, we're using, the blade technology. And if you're using thousands and thousands of cores, actually our biggest server we run in China is consisting of 30,000 cores. It's roughly, 8,000 and more servers just connected to a cluster. And this one is, deployed in, 1 or 2 hours. That's actually really the idea, to deploy such a system in very fast and really reduce the complexity, even, for large-scale clusters. And to integrate all those systems actually into an existing environment, that's the other idea. Because as of today, when you're looking into this high-performance or high-productivity computing areas, everything is isolated. You have the developers, you have the scientists really working on an island, just working, with the high complex and very expensive cluster infrastructure. And what we really plan to do, to integrate that into the corporate infrastructure, into the corporate area. And as I said before, we really plan to do that even, the needs of traditional computing, supercomputing are addressed, but at the other hand, really enable non-technical users to get access to high-performance technology. That's in the end our strategy. And for the user, for you as well, really get access to multi-core technology with our applications. And therefore, we really are going out and broaden the ecosystem. Our idea is really to work with the developers of different applications. We have a huge ecosystem of ISVs actually working with our application with Visual Studio now, for example, where we address the idea really to parallelize all the applications, because as of today, the traditional application gets a performance boost with every clock cycle. The CPU increases their performance. And so we believe that the traditional application is dead. So we have to go into the parallelism of the application. That's actually the idea. So the parallel development tools are very important actually for us, and do mainstream HPC to really get access to that performance in the future. That's the idea. So taking HPC mainstream, that's what I said before, really helping the non-technical user get access to those products, working with the ISVs, working with the developers, really that they get access to parallel computing, to multi-core technology. That's actually our idea. And the first application you will get will be in Office 14, will be Excel. Excel will have this multi-core technology, multi-core capability, that you really have the possibility to spread then the tasks to different PCs, cores, or servers. That's the idea. So thanks a lot. So if you would like to hear more about HPC, there's an HPC website, Microsoft.com/HPC. Just go there and get the information. And I'll be around. You can pick me if you like. Don't buy me a drink. Wouldn't be so good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bert. So the next company that we're going to look into and hear from is one of the other partners that has really just helped EVE Online stay right on the bleeding edge and just maintain the phenomenal performance, especially within our database. And that is Texas Memory Systems. We've been using their RAMSAN technology since it was very new itself, and I believe we put our first RAMSAN in late 2004 or 2005. I think it was 5, yeah. And since then, we've added more and more and more RAMSANs as time has gone on, and that culminated this year when, in February, we installed one of their much newer products, which is called a RAMSAN 500, which is not entirely based on RAM, but it also has flash memory. And it has let us put all sort of roughly 1.5 terabytes of our database onto solid-state storage. So the entirety of the EVE database sits on various RAMSANs. So as you can imagine, they are a fairly significant partner for us. So we've got Natalie here, who's flown out to come and tell us all about RAMSAN. first. Okay. Yeah. Do you want to introduce it?
So thank you, everybody, for showing up today. First, I'd like to show you a greeting from our president, Woody Hutzel, and then we'll get started.
Hello, EVE Fanfest participants, and especially fellow Galintians. My name is Woody Hutzel, president of Texas Memory Systems. It's a real honor to get to address you today. I'm especially jealous that you're out there in Iceland and I'm back here in Houston. But I think you'd rather have Natalie out there than me, so that's how we made that all happen. In any case, I know many of you are out there running large corporations, some of you mega corporations, while others of you are making do by salvaging minerals off of asteroids in low security space. Here at Texas Memory Systems, we're still an earthbound corporation making what we refer to as the world's fastest storage. Now, I've got to tell you, we've always wanted to aim a little higher than that, and thanks to our collaboration with the folks at CCP and the EVE Online universe, we can now claim to have the universe's fastest storage. Special thanks to Hilmar and the CCP development team for working with us over the last several years and making what we hope is your gameplay an even more enjoyable experience. And thanks also to the EVE Online players who make our weekends and evenings playing EVE Online fun for the rest of us, except, of course, for that rat bastard that blew up my Brutix in low security space. Enjoy the FanFest.
So as you can all tell, our president is also an EVE Online player, as well as a number of our guys at our office. So my name is Natalie Bickley, and I'm with Texas Memory Systems, better known as the guys who make the Ramsan. We've been around for 30 years, making, manufacturing, developing the Ramsan solid-state disk. That's what we do, that's what we sell, it's awesome, and I love it. So a lot of people ask me what type of customers are going to spend that amount of money on storage. Well, it's not just any storage, but I can get into that later. So you could have used a Ramsan while not knowing it. Well, you know it now, playing EVE Online. But if you went to the ATM and pulled out some Kronas, you could have possibly touched our Ramsan. And also maybe sending an SMS message back at home telling them what a great time you're having. You could have also used a Ramsan then. So one of the reasons why, or the main reason why customers look at using our solid-state disk is performance, whether it's IOPS, bandwidth, or the biggest reason would be latency, which is how long the CPU is going to be waiting on disk drives or storage. And another reason would be power, everyone going greener. So our systems are kind of broken into rack mountable, which are that group right there, and then our new PCIe flash card. As James mentioned, CCP is using our DDR system, which is what they started with, putting a little bit of their SQL Server database on that. And then we have our DDR flash-based, our flash-based system, which is what they purchased earlier this year and implemented in February. And they're currently testing our PCIe flash card. So performance, what are you looking at? Most of you are familiar with hard drives, which run a performance of about 200 IOPS, input outputs per second. So with our flash card, you would need about 600 hard drives to get the performance of our PCIe flash card. To get the performance of our flash-based system, you would need over 1,200 hard drives to get to the performance of the flash one. Now, to get to our flagship product, the DDR Ramsan 440, you would need over 3,000 hard drives to get over 600,000 IOPS. Which is pretty amazing, and it is, as all you probably know, very expensive, and I'll probably get a lot of questions about that. So I did want to make this very brief. I want to thank CCP for the opportunity of working with them and being on the brink of technology, breaking all the barriers. I'd also like to thank the players. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here today. I didn't want to get too technical, but I'd love to dive into questions if you'd like, so you can ask away. Thank you, guys. Oh. On the time scale? I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I'll run over with the microphone. That's probably going to be easier. This is probably much easier.
Probably. Right, the solid-state drives at the moment are fairly expensive for what you get. What's the sort of time scale on, the price coming down sort of thing?
$250,000 Now you can get 128 gigs, and I'm talking about DDR, so that's the fastest that you can get. Now you're looking, you could get half a terabyte now of DDR solid state for $200,000. So you're looking at $400 a gig. It is still very expensive. For a half terabyte of DDR for flash, for the system, the rack mountable system, you're looking at about $90 a gig. And then for the PCIe card that you saw earlier, that one runs about $40 a gig, all US dollars. Yes? It's all fiber channel, 4 gigabit fiber channel currently. Mm-hmm. Yes? Well, probably we have definitely had an increase in competitors. Most of you are maybe familiar with Fusion IO. So they develop also PCIe flash cards. There's EMC that's jumped into the mix, which we kind of saw it as a benefit because it validated the technology. It has taken us many years to show that the enterprise is ready for solid state. I would say that, like TMS alone, our business has grown 40% year over year. Our revenue, 50% of our revenue is repeat business. 50% of our revenue is outside the U.S. So you can only imagine the types of companies that are buying us. As you may have saw on the list, there's financial stock exchanges that depend on our technology today. But definitely is a lot more available. It's cheaper. Still easy to use, a lot easier than most people think. All right, well, feel free to come, not pick on me or buy me a drink, but you can just snag on me, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. So thank you again for y'all's time today.
Thanks, Natalie. So actually, the presentation just reminded me of one thing as well with the PCIe card that they have. We currently have actually got in Reykjavik one of the Ramsan 20s, the PCIe card, and it's sitting in a blade from IBM. And we're actually using that, I think is it a 500 gig card? 450 gigs. And we're actually using this card at the moment to, I think we're powering our software versioning system with it, because the amount of sort of software check-ins and check-outs that you get all the time for a centralized system like the one we have at CCP for managing all of our code has started to put a stress on the disks of that server, and it's not a big amount when it comes to the actual sort of code base, but moving it onto the Ramsan 20 has just made for amazing performance of that system. So it's interesting to see it sort of, for me personally, to see it branching out from just being sort of hardcore database level stuff to being able to use it for other applications. So I think you kind of watch this space. It's coming on. Another question. The server itself, I don't know what. Sorry? It's Perforce. So that's the system that we use. Anyway, so we have one more of our sponsors to come. Oh, no? Yeah?
Currently on our 20, they're available on Linux and Windows with Solaris on the way. And all of our other systems are available on any other operating system.
Awesome. So I'm actually going to introduce CCP Whisper, who is CCP's, I guess you could call him the head of eVoice within CCP. He's kind of, I don't think he's going to really need a microphone, but I'm going to give one to him anyway. So Whisper is going to introduce the last sponsor and partner that we have today, which is Vivox.
So, a few quick words on that. I really don't need a microphone, but I get the feeling it's going to be a long day, so I'm going to save my voice. CCP has had a very long and very productive relationship with Vivox. We're kind of proud to see that much of the work that we have asked Vivox to do has subsequently been adopted by our competitors, because they looked at these ideas and went, my goodness, that would be an awesome thing to have in our game. So, but at the same time, we've been very, very pleased to be working with Vivox and to be able to work very quickly with Vivox on adapting and innovating the way that voice comms is used in Eve. We've been very fortunate that Vivox has been able to grow very quickly with us and scale their service to be able to cope with the increasing number of people who use eVoice. Not many people know this, but roughly about 20% of our users will use eVoice at some point in a given month. So the next time one of those forum geniuses says nobody uses it, well, they're wrong. A lot of people do, and the number is increasing every day. And we have big plans for the future, and, well, Monty will fill you in on that. So, Monty Sharma from Vivox, everyone.
Thanks, Aaron. I should say, a lot of stuff I'm going to say in my presentation is anything that's forward-looking is technical capability. It's not suggesting Eve will do that. In case I misspeak, Eve has positioned their beanbag Nazi, or beanbag ninja, to make sure he can leap up and stop me from saying anything I shouldn't say, which he should have done just then. Now I'm leaving. So when we started with eVoice, the whole thing was, how do you make something that's simple, it's pervasive, wherever you go, you can just pick it up, you can use it, you can start talking to people, you don't need to hand out server IPs, you don't have to manage the ability to talk to people. And then to make something that's very high quality, the thing that amuses us is telcos right now are spending tons of time trying to figure out high-definition voice. And they want to charge you extra so your phone calls sound a little better. We've been doing that for years with Eve, and it's high-quality voice. Any corp channel, any alliance channel, any gang, you can just start talking, and eVoice is there. So that was the goal with eVoice. Eve was actually the first game we started to work with. And since then, as Aaron mentioned, we've grown. Right now we deal with about 15 million users all over the world, 2.5 billion minutes worth of voice chat in any given month. And we also deal with companies like EA, Sony Online, Second Life, NCSoft, Wizards of the Coast, and probably about a dozen others that I didn't stick on the list. But the interesting thing has been, for the most part, the vast number of features, particularly around security, have all been defined by CCP. And they were defined when we started, that we need something that's this secure, that works in this way, and that doesn't let players do this, 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 and this. And so, it was, I can't say who, but there was somebody who's using our stuff in a government application. We don't deal with governments, but they're taking it there. And the whole security architecture of what they wanted and what blew away all of the competitors when they were doing it was all based on how eVoice works. So if nothing else, it's secure and broad. In terms of the future, there's a few things that are going on that are going to be interesting and new. The first part is voice fonts. It's the ability to change your voice so that, I can make my voice sort of sound deeper, a little more, I can sound like Aaron, a little more resonant, or I can make it sound sort of smaller, thinner. I can put in a gravelly aspect to it. So one of the things that, we'd love to see on the forums and people talking about is how do the various races sound? It is very, very hard to describe how people speak. It's not something we're used to. You can describe color, you can describe visual stuff very easily, but somebody's voice is very hard to speak, is very hard to describe. So those are things that we're really interested in player feedback on, so that we can actually build voices that match what the characters sound like. The only one anybody seems to have a handle on is Minmatar. Is they're gruff and gravelly from, hard living and working in the mines and drinking and all of that. Walking in Stations has the possibility of bringing forward some of the 3D voice we do, so you can just walk up to people and start talking to them. We do 3D sound, so as you walk up to a conversation, it'll get louder. You can be in a bar and you'll just hear a murmur from off in the corner, and you'll kind of hear the loudmouth right there, and you'll be able to talk to your friends that are close in. So hopefully that'll bring an interesting new social aspect to what's going on. Ultimately, one of the things that everybody wants to get to is how do we handle external clients' ways to use eVoice without being in Eve. We do things with some desktop clients. I'll show you a sneak preview of Facebook application. This is the super secret. This is how it's going to look in a month. That's it. We do lots of things where you can connect from a web page, from Facebook, from a desktop client. Biggest issue around that is security aspects. So we're working with CCP in finding ways to secure it so that if you're on Facebook and your corp has a Facebook page and you get kicked out of the corp, you can't get back into that channel and get into it. We do dial in from a phone. You could take your cell phone and dial into your corp page, but until we can secure who's allowed into which channel, those are things we don't want to do. So that's all I've got. We have some headsets to throw out to anybody who has questions for any of the presenters. Or you can buy us drinks or donuts. And if any of them don't want drinks or donuts, I do. Sorry, say that.
Yeah, I'll just see if that microphone can start working. So
this isn't. Yeah, there you go. Whoa, that's kind of freaky.
All right. Okay. Oh, is this mine?
No, it's the one for the person who asked the question.
Oh, okay. Who was asking? Here we go. Everyone's got a question now. There you go. Here's the question, and here's the microphone.
And they're very fine Plantronics headsets.
If it's possible to put the Vivox onto Facebook, is that a feature that might find its way into the New Eden webpage for talking into Eve?
Yeah, I mean, in fact, the goal for us is to make it part of Cosmos. Yes, and he's got throwing stars. And so that's exactly it. And the biggest thing is going to be to bring in that security aspect.
Okay, here we go.
Wherever James goes.
I'm going. Okay. This guy. All right. This is like the most exercise I've had all year.
The voice fonts, is that to disguise the 12-year-old players that are playing?
To a certain extent, it can. I can take my 12-year-old son and make him sound like he's been smoking for 60 years. And as far as I know, he's only been smoking for 4. So, we do a male to female transform, which actually works very well on certain voices.
I am not allowed to use it anymore. There's literally one developer, he will not talk to me through our test server because I once used the male to female voice to say, hey, do you want to buy me a beer?
And he did. Next.
Okay. So
you can ask anybody. You don't have to ask me. We're just giving stuff away.
Obviously, you're saying that you've got 20% of the users are using voice at any sort of given time. There's the two sort of externals, probably Ventrilo and TeamSpeak. I know that we use TeamSpeak for the simple fact that if Eve goes down, Eve voice goes down.
Well, that's not true.
Any sort of plans to take the Eve voice so that you can actually have it running.
That's all the external client stuff. Right now, if Eve goes down, Eve Voice doesn't have to go down or doesn't necessarily go down. We take it down because what we don't want to have happen is you crash out and then you're just sitting there cursing, but your mic's still live and you're pushing into channel, a stream of things that really shouldn't be said in public.
What about the individual capability to mute and unmute some people and the equivalent of TeamSpeak, command channel, that kind of thing? The rights within, right now we can talk to people. I use eVoice, it's nice, but there's absolutely no rights whatsoever and no granularity. So do you have any plans to add any of that?
That's all already in the Vivox SDK. It's just we need to do the work to expose it.
You need to rant and rave on the forums.
I'll tell you why. The controls for this kind of thing, I don't need a mic.
It's for the recording.
Oh, it's for the recording. Okay, so I'll start again. The capabilities for this are already in the Vivox SDK. We just need to expose them in the UI. And that little 2-letter acronym should, of course, already strike terror and fear into everyone's heart. We want this to actually have a proper, decent UI, which means that it needs to actually get a fairly long development period with our UI designers and then with the programmers who will be implementing it, so that you get something that is more than just a couple of tiny sliders that you have to click through 3 tabs to get through. And, by the time you found the individual volume control to turn down the 12-year-old listening to bad techno, he's already shut up. So it's there. We're going to do it. It might take us a little time, but we know that it's necessary, just like we know that an external client is necessary. But as we've been reiterating in several cases, we are aiming for excellence in this. So now, rather than give you something that's half-baked and that makes you curse it even more than before, we want to give you something that works and works well.
One of the things we actually did build in, at request of CCP is in a fleet channel, if a fleet commander speaks, it'll duck everybody else's mic automatically. So there's a lot of very fine-grained controls. Give them some feedback and chance. Let's keep giving stuff out.
Okay, we have a question from Helgi.
Yes, do you have a Darth Vader plugin?
We do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we actually rolled back a little bit of the James Earl Jones on that, and it kind of sounds like you're in a metallic space, and that's kind of the Minmatar, my radio's kind of working voice font now.
Good evening, gentlemen. Went to the pub crawl last night. My throat's a little scratchy, but question is about the voice fonts. Is that able to get to now in the game currently?
No, but it'll be in Dominion.
Okay, and also, I think that the PvPers that use these boosting control stuff, like the coffee that makes you fight better, or whatever you call it in-game, I think if somebody was all pumped up on something, maybe it could possibly speed up their voice, like they're really hyper. Okay.
We could raise the pitch on them.
Yes?
Yes, we could.
Yeah.
Okay, suggestion?
I'll say, in Dominion, we're launching voice fonts. The initial release is going to be somewhat limited. We're going to put out a couple of filters out there which will change male voice, make them more gravelly, make them deeper. We've got some filters for female voices. Yes, we have a male-to-female one. We also have a female-to-male one.
Because they're tired of you guys hitting on them all the time.
So the initial release is kind of limited. But what we want is we want feedback like that. We want to hear what you people want to have for the voice fonts. We want you to say, okay, well, this one really works. If I use this one, I can say this one works for my voice, but these other ones don't. And things like, because the really difficult thing with these filters is that not every filter will work for every voice. So as we develop these things, we can upload these voice fonts really quickly. We can change them, we can modify them. We will eventually also make UI changes to expose some additional fine-tuning controls to the end user, so you can change things like pitch, etc., within a certain parameter to adjust one of the preset filters. So in Dominion, you'll get a chance to start playing around with them and start giving us feedback for these things. And as time goes by, they'll become more refined, they'll become more Eve-specific, and give you a bit more control. So eventually, yeah, you could have 8 alts with 8 voices
pretty amazing.
Question not strictly related to Vivox, but not all of my corp mates have mics or play in noisy environments, so having them on speech isn't good. Is there any scope for having a channel set to do text-to-speech with the speech synths in Windows? So basically you get a spoken electric voice for that player or anybody in that channel.
The text-to-speech, a lot of the speech synth stuff really, really sucks. And I can say sucks, right? I'm in Iceland. And we've done fairly substantial research in the area, and actually the best text-to-speech system out there after spending months looking at it is actually IBM's server-side text-to-speech stuff. So we've looked at that. The biggest problem is latency and getting it into the channel in the right way, because we've worked with some accessibility groups who are trying to get blind and deaf users into computing. And, quite frankly, the technology of making everything happen decently fast enough isn't quite there yet. So we're mucking about with some static stuff with IBM, but not the real time, I got to get a message in.
Actually think it's a really good idea, especially because there is a lot of people, as my fellow player said, without microphones or playing from work or something like that. So actually it would be a really great idea to maybe have a certain set of commands, like yes, no, Roger, something like that, like broadcasts.
Well, what we can actually do, it's what we call quick chat, and if CCP wants to get on the forums and rant, or actually speak politely on the forums, and everybody will be taken aback and not know what to do. But we can do that. If there's certain preset things off a pick list, biggest problem again is you're back to the UI team. If any of you have UI skills, go apply at CCP, put these things in.
Okay, the second thing is, while I'm more or less okay with voice fonts in Incarna, I think it could raise a couple of metagame issues for using it on TeamSpeak or on eVoice during fights. So do you have any concerns regarding that?
But if you take away the metagame, then you're just playing the game, right?
That was raised at one of the points was raised at our table we had the other day. It's going to be part of the review process. Once we've launched it and we start having people using it and we start getting user feedback about it, there will be some way. If we feel the need that we have to identify who is using voice box. I put a little star next to their name, or somehow or other make it obvious to people that this person is disguising their voice somehow. We're open to implementing that, or even just making it a user option. I can certainly see that some RPers, maybe in less than critical situations, would consider it an intrusion to have a little star next to everyone's name. So if they want to switch it off, that might be something that we would consider. But it's something. This will be part of the iterative process, getting user feedback and deciding how we want to implement it and how.
Or you could load a null font, which does nothing to your voice, but everybody thinks you've done something to your voice.
I have a question. Since you have plans for external client, do you have any plans for a mobile client? With all the new mobile content they are thinking to release with New Eden and...
I can't tell you that I'd love to see a client on my phone.
Nice. Okay, we've got two more questions, and then I think we're just about out of time. So I'm just going to keep working my way forward.
Hi, I listen to a lot of MMO podcasts, so it's nice to sort of see the face behind all the interviews with Brent on Virgin Worlds after all these years. So great product, thank you. one of my little corporation, or the corporation I'm in, I'm not a director, uses Mumble as an alternative to TeamSpeak and Ventrilo, mostly because that's just what the guy felt like installing, but it's got good quality, low latency, which I think eVoice has. The voice quality is great, and the latency when people can work on the PC is really good. But the third thing that Mumble has that's much, much better than TeamSpeak or Ventrilo is decent quality normalization just integrated into the setup process, so that when somebody starts using Mumble and starts talking, that you can pretty much guarantee they're neither going to blow your eardrums or be inaudible. And I wonder if there any sort of way of bringing that into the sort of eVoice client that would help.
That's actually in the Dominion code. So, one of the things, folks need to realize is there's a lot of things of like, we'll build something, but then we've got to go through the cycle of when's there a release cycle from CCP and getting everything through QA and tested and all of that. But in the Dominion code is the first round of normalization, echo cancellation, and it's going to take a few revs of tuning that and getting it to optimal, but yeah, absolutely.
You say about the security. How's the login side of things, the external client, going to work? Is that through the API or?
No, it's going to. It'll use an API, but it probably won't use the API.
So, say you have a
How's that for a meaningless answer?
Say you have a spy outside of your corporation that uses your external API. Wouldn't it make more sense using the Eve one? So
No, it would be an API between us and CCP, but there's a lot of things that need to go back and forth. So we do things that are encrypted per session, and the checking and all of that and the validation against the access control list, all of those would be between us and CCP, and we probably wouldn't do those through publicly available APIs. Not that making them hidden makes you any more secure, but just we're going to need more back and forth.
It's one of the things that kind of makes me laugh in quiet hours of the evening, that we probably put more thought into the securing of the data transfers between the client and the end user and the Vivox servers and the end user than some telcos do for their VoIP applications. Because we know that our e-players are the most rabid bunch of hackers and freakers that you could probably ever wish to encounter, and the minute we launch this service, everyone's going to be packet sniffing, probing, poking, getting big sticks and saying, what happens when I do this? And so, security is written with all capital letters, Vegas-style neon blinking font stuff, and it causes lots of headaches for me because I have to go and ask for server development time, and people just go, it's just voice. Our players recently, and it causes some headaches for Vivox because they come to us and we go and they say, why on earth does this have to be more secure than CIA encryption?
Okay. Last question.
I know you guys are looking at voice, say, in walking-in stations and that sort of stuff. Are you planning at doing voice, say, in between platforms, say, from Eve to Dust or Eve to Hello Kitty Online or whatever it is? And that sort of thing.
I can say technically that Vivox supports PS3, Mac, Linux, Windows, maybe a mobile platform. And we can talk across those, but I cannot say anything about what you're going to be able to do between various CCP properties.
That's a big can of worms right there. All right, guys. Just a huge thank you again to the four sponsors that have given us our time today. We've got some headsets going out. A huge thank you again to IBM and Nihari, Microsoft, Texas Memory Systems, and of course to Vivox.